create a mobile ready site. It's not something very difficult, it's quite easy, but only to remind you there is some sort of mathematical calculation involved. We already know while we create the CSS, we did some little calculation because the effective width and the padding and margin, how we disturb the design, and we did some plus and minus to keep every boxes intact to get the desired design. The same thing we have to remember and how we could create a mobile ready design or mobile first design using JQuery. So that I'm going to see now. So the previous example code I have already kept. Only thing I changed is I added a JS block because the last example may not have a JavaScript block because I am going to use jQuery. I just copy pasted this one. The rest of the design same. I have been modified as even a single line. So when I run this, I get a header. Seems to be header having some link. I'll remove it. If I can get an image, probably I could have kept it, but you can try with that. So a header, left navigation bar. So what is the naming convention I've used? Let me see in the CSS. Looks like the main is a full container. Header, left navigation bar, content, right navigation bar, footer, and of course image and other stuff I have used, but that's something does not come with the hard-coded value much. So the main is an entire wrapper for my document. So it has a fixed width and height. So how much it's going to disturb while a design is smaller than the expected. First thing I can emulate it by making in such a way. Let me try to bring it down. Maybe up to this design is fine because I brought it to some level of width, reduce the width. But when the width goes beyond to 800 pixel, lesser than 800 pixel, if you notice, the design is not now responsive. It doesn't even respond. You just have a scroll bar to offset the content. The content is not properly displayed. This I have to fully depend on the scroll bar to see the content which is going beyond to the allowed width. It's just like overflowing. The content has been given a scroll bar to see the addition. This is not a perfect responsive design in this case. So assuming this is something a size of a mobile phone, and this is something a size of maybe up to this size of a desktop. We can arrive at the width and height by simply knowing the width of the window object. Remember, there is a window object exists in JavaScript. So we keep on listening to the window object. Any changes happens to the window object, we recalculate the width and height of the header, footer, content, or whatever it is, and then we adapt them. So this kind of a techniques, creating design, mobile ready design, is called responsive web design. Of course, that's what it will respond to the window object. So we are trying to create a responsive web design using jQuery. But there are various frameworks readily available to do that. Bootstrap one is something quite popular in this market to create a responsive web design, but it does the same work what we are going to do, but it has every calculation done already for that. Let me try. Few things I need to have my jQuery integrated with this. And of course our additional script block which is going to do the DOM manipulation. First thing, I need to verify my document is ready or not. If the document is ready, time to see. Okay. I want to register one function. Mean there's a window object exists. Window resize function is available in jQuery. Whenever a window resized, a callback function will be triggered. Same like whenever the click happens, you get a function call. At the same time, this function is going to do the similar work, but whenever the window is resized, I'm going to see whether what happened to the window size. Let us see whether it is doing the job. Before that, variable width, just I create a object. Calling the window objects, it's like a same way you call the document object. Dollar bracket window you need to specify. Let me put a console. Okay, maybe a much perfect would be good. I just put a console function so that I can see the actual width and height of the window. I register a function in document ready so that the document is fully loaded and window object being listened by JQuery. Whenever changes happen to the width and height, I'll come to know. Just refresh, go back to inspect element and go to the console. Okay, I think already I have some values here. Now the document is loaded. Let me do a small resize. If you see that the width is keep on changed, even though height is not changed. Of course, I'm not changing the height. I'm adjusting the width. Let me try to change the height as well. The active height is not changed because the fixed window object we have, and the width is changing. That's more than enough for us to get a clear picture, because the responsive design is everything based on the width, because the user, the way he reads, the adjustment should happen in the width. So we are going to adjust the width. Now if you notice, the effective width is 400 pixel for this kind of design we are expecting for a mobile phone. Even the height is not changed. So using that, I'm going to modify the CSS behavior of the respective DOMs so that it will appear perfect on the mobile or any kind of screen which is lesser than 800 pixel. We create a function. Some name. I prefer this way of creating function. For obvious reason, I am writing everything inside a document ready callback function. So function inside a function, I may get a little confusion. Instead of that, I better create an object. The object instance is nothing but a function. So it's all within the function. There are any number of objects can be created. So this way, I always prefer. Of course, nobody is going to stop you to write a function directly. Okay, we'll have to redesign. What all the things need to be redesigned? First, when width goes lesser than 800, do one thing, else another condition. Two conditions possible. Of course, you could create a purely responsive design according to the browser width. The all content could be laid out. It's up to you. But I have already created a design, so I'm going to do a design change whenever the window size goes to a less than 800 pixel width, and come back to normal whenever the pixel size goes beyond 800 pixel. So two separation I'm going to do. So let's take the jQuery. jQuery start with the dollar and the selector. In this case, everything is a class selector. So for me, it's a main, because this DOM is a class selector. Give the CSS attributes. So I can give this way, two-way, it's possible, with giving the value of the entire DOM width, sorry, in this case browser window width, and header also resize same way. Everything I'm going to change it to the equivalent size of the window width. Header, left navigation bar, content bar, as that is called, everything we kept inside the content class selector, and right navigation bar, and finally footer. Everything set to the equivalent width so that all boxes going to occupy one single row. Everything subsequent boxes will come bottom to that. But this will only take effect whenever the width goes lesser than 800 pixels. So let's call that in document resize function. I'll just make this one, bring it down. It worked, I hope, because it went bottom, this one went bottom. Though it may not be perfect, but it did work. All the stuff went one by one, but we have to do a little bit of change, something still there is an overflow. I think there is some sort of 10 pixel gap is there because of some sort of padding margin we would have kept. The rest, we don't want this much of big space because mobile ready design, the effective utilization of page is very important. I want to reduce the left navigation bar height, and the content I don't want to touch. The right navigation bar I don't really see it is needed at all, and the footer. Okay. And one more problem is when I again go back, it doesn't change. It just stick to the old one. I mean the modified one. So a couple of mathematics we have to perform now to really make the responsive design. Okay. This is for one single value specification with height alone. But if you have more than one CSS attribute values to be specified, you could write in the same way. For I'll just comment this one. There is an equivalent way would be defining the JavaScript object type. So width and make the height, so suggestion won't come, auto. First one is the attribute name, that's why it doesn't require any quotation. The second one would require if it is a string, for example hard-coded value. Auto is something like it's not a numeral, so that's why I put it within the quotation. So if you have more than one CSS attribute name values to be specified, use the JavaScript object style instead of in this way, simply defining one single attribute and the value. It will be pretty extendable if we do the same for all. I think it's still close. The height, I think, since those are all empty boxes, the header disappeared because with height I have given auto. It means no content, it will have no value. So the rest of the thing disappeared, but even though we are a bit close, let's fix something. I keep the minimum height attribute what was the value for height? Okay, so new memory height for 100 pixel. Okay, we do one thing, we don't want to change the, we don't want to add the height attribute to header, so that at least the header will always be in 100 pixel height, which will be adjusted. Let's keep the same for footer also. So always the header footer will appear. Right navigation bar, everything could be normal. And the left navigation bar, I do notice some sort of offset is coming, but that may be due to this kind of padding right. So I need to remove that. Maybe I can reduce 10 pixel. Try. Oh, it's perfect now. Slightly perfect design, but still some sort of offset is there. Maybe there is a built-in width and height padding is being added. To remove that, probably we can change the effective width to slightly lesser than 10 pixel. See this, I don't follow any standard. I'm seeing the view and doing the mathematical calculation. It's not something a recommended standard always keep -10 or something. See the response and adapt a standard. Oh, fine. The horizontal bar, scroll bar is not there, and we have a slightly a mobile ready design created for us. So that probably after JavaScript we can even hide it and create a small hamburger menu like this on the top. Then we'll let the other one to appear. So of course we have time to go through that way. But okay, fine. So a mobile ready site, whenever the size gets reduced, so the content is properly being displayed as expected. But we still have some sort of issues when the size goes above 800 pixel. I still see the same design, and now I need to restore the design. The else condition, I need to do a couple of things. This may be slightly tedious. Tedious means maybe redundant. Just go to your style sheet, put the same values again, back to the same value. Width is 800, height is 1000. Header, I hope it is 800. Yes. Height is not modified at all, so we don't need to worry about it. Left navigation bar, and that goes to 150 pixel. Let's put back. And height, what was the height? 850 pixel. The content 500, 850. Right navigation bar 140, 850. And the footer finally 800. This block to restore default CSS. Slightly ugly code, but still works. So let me make a smaller design. Now mobile site is ready, and then go back to the mark. So we got a responsive design created for us. So when a size goes beyond to 800, sorry, lesser than 800 pixel, a mobile ready site will be loaded, and When size go beyond to 800 pixels, the default restore, default CSS is being restored. It's a nasty code still, because remember, whenever resize happens, this is being redone every time. But okay, for a simple design, we at least got an idea like how a responsive design is being made. Responsive designs being made by detecting the window width and using the JavaScript, manipulate the DOMs and use the effective width of a mobile device or any other devices which is having a small form factor. So this is the base idea to create a responsive web design. Remember, we have various frameworks such as Bootstrap, Foundation framework. Various framework does the same job, but they have a more efficient way of handling the JavaScript and CSS because they are the frameworks. But the base idea is like this. So this is how it's been done. A JavaScript manipulates the DOM based on the window object change and always deliver a mobile ready design whenever a smaller form factor device being detected. So now probably you are getting into the use of JavaScript slightly better, because we are making use of JavaScript quite extensively, and of course creating a responsive web design without a JavaScript we couldn't even think about it, because JavaScript is the only one it does the work. Of course, CSS can also be dynamically created. We call them as there are various other programming language can also be used to create such one. Of course, JavaScript still does the work. So the CSS dynamically modified using jQuery in this case to create a responsive web design. If you had completed the previous example, you could very well easily understand it. All I just added is some sort of manipulation stuff to create a responsive.